Welcome back. A tough road lies ahead for the National Prosecuting Authority. NPA boss Shamila Batohi says they're struggling with a skills shortage, including a shortfall of more than 600 prosecutors. The authority will also need more cash. It will be short of 1.7 billion rand. That's over the next 3 years. That was said by Shamila Batohi in a briefing to members of Parliament this week. Lawson Naidoo is Executive Secretary at the Council for the Advancement of the South African Constitution. He joins us now to talk more about this. Lawson, a very good afternoon to you. Good to see you. So, Shamila Batohi suggested in that briefing with members of Parliament taking resources from the Zondo Commission of Inquiry and transferring those to the NPA. Does that sound to you like a solid idea, a solid solution?
Well, good afternoon, Tembekile. Look, I think in the context of the fiscal constraints that we face as a country at the moment, there's got to be a careful allocation of resources to ensure that we get the most effective outcomes from those resources. We've heard earlier this week that we've spent upwards of 700 million rands on the Zondo Commission so far. And I think, the National Prosecuting Authority, as one of those institutions that was really hollowed out during the Zuma years, does face a critical skill shortage. There is a vacancy rate of between 20 and 25% within the NPA. So, at that level, they're unable to really fulfill the mandate to prosecute all crimes in South Africa. So I think this plea for additional funds and resources is premised on that. They have, as we know, were allocated additional funds in the February budget. They're unlikely to get that full amount now because of the cutbacks in expenditure announced in the supplementary budget. But they have been able to fill some of the vacancies, but obviously there are many vacancies that remain. And I think there's a particular need for highly skilled people skilled in forensics and skilled prosecutors who are able to prosecute what are likely to be some highly complex commercial cases related to state capture and corruption.
And so on that briefing to members of Parliament, Advocate Batohi said that they're expecting an avalanche of cases emanating from the Zondo Commission of Inquiry and the many other inquiries that have either concluded or are still ongoing. But what hope is there that those matters will be wrapped up quickly and the investigations done properly when you don't have budget or the requisite skill?
Well, it's going to depend on a few factors. Firstly, the quality of the information that comes through from the Zondo Commission and gets shared with the NPA and with the Hawks as the investigating arm within SAPS. So, if those investigative reports that they get, don't need a lot of additional work, then, it should be possible for cases to be prosecuted quite speedily. But I think the concern is also that because the Zondo Commission hasn't produced interim reports, what is likely to happen is at the end of the life of the Commission in March next year, a whole pile of cases is going to be handed over to the NPA and to the Hawks to pursue all at the same time. And I think that's a legitimate concern, that they're going to be swamped with the number of cases that emanate from the various testimony and evidence given to Deputy Chief Justice Zondo. And it's going to be, an incredible task for the NPA to sift through all of that at the same time and ensure that there are, at the end of the day, successful prosecutions. But hopefully, once the Zondo Commission comes to an end, the funds that have been allocated to that commission can then be transferred to the Hawks and to the NPA.
There are people, Lawson, who say Advocate Batohi has been in position long enough as the National Director of Public Prosecutions. She's made promises and recommitted the Prosecuting Authority to going after the big cases and, of course, securing those successful prosecutions, yet none of that has come to pass. And those people feel that she needs to just, at this point, stop talking about the problems and get on with it. Do you agree?
Well, I certainly share that sense of frustration. I think we all share that sense of frustration in that things are moving far too slowly. And I think Advocate Batohi herself has acknowledged that it's moving at a pace that she's not comfortable with. And I think it is a reflection of the lack of resources and capacity within the NPA. But on the other hand, I also think it's a little bit unfair to say that nothing has been done. We've seen, some matters being brought before the courts, charges being laid against, some senior people. The former mayor of eThekwini springs to mind, Zandile.
Zandile Kumete.
Sandile Gumede, thank you, Tembekile, as well as the recent arrest in the VBS matter, and we're certainly hopeful that that will be followed up with further arrests, as well as in some of the other investigations that they are pursuing at the moment. So, yes, I think we're right to be frustrated, and we need to keep pressure on the NPA to ensure that they actually do deliver on the promises that Advocate Batohi has made to the people of South Africa.
And arrests, of course, Lawson, are always great for headlines, but they mean very little when the people arrested don't actually face any jail time. But anyway, I want to talk about the advocate herself. I mean, when she came in, a lot of people praised her for her track record when she worked in KZN and when she worked internationally as a prosecutor. Given what she's up against, is she going to be the person who is finally able to repair the NPA beyond just publicity, but even internally, and make it an actual success? Or will she be another NPA head who leaves with very little changed?
Well, I certainly hope that she is able to make an impact and to begin to turn around that institution. I think we all are heavily invested in her success and want her to succeed. It is an unenviable task, and I think she started the process of rebuilding the institution. We've seen the appointment recently of new Deputy National Directors of Public Prosecutions at a very high level, a new head of the Asset Forfeiture Unit of the National Prosecuting Service, and so on. So I think that process of rehabilitating the institution has commenced. And it is going to be a process. It's not going to happen overnight. We do need to have a little bit of patience, but on the other hand, I think the NPA also owe it to the people of South Africa to show a little bit more progress in actually bringing cases before court, having trials get underway, and ultimately seeing people being prosecuted and sent to jail, because ultimately that's what holding people to account has got to mean.
Lawson Naidoo, as always, thank you.